What if I told you that a cashmere sweater could change the world? Brunello Cucinelli is known as the king of cashmere. He is known as the man who is behind those iconic grey t-shirts from Mark Zuckerberg. But to really understand the impact of Brunello Cucinelli, you have to hear his story. Brunello Cucinelli is not just a fashion designer. He is a pioneer of what he calls humanistic capitalism. And trust me, his journey is so inspiring that sometimes you might think it's fiction. Today we'll cover the story behind the brand Brunello Cucinelli. Why is he so adored in Silicon Valley? And how he compares to his biggest competitor, Loro Piana. Let's begin. Brunello Cucinelli was born in 1953 in a small village in Perugia in Italy. His family were farmers and they lived very poor. When Brunello was 15 years old, his father started working at a cement factory because the money that he made from farming was not enough. Every night he came exhausted from his work, not just physically exhausted, but also because he was humiliated by his chef every day. Every night when Brunello saw tears in his father's eyes, he thought to himself, I will do everything in my power to ensure that no one I employ ever experiences humiliation at work. Brunello went to university to study engineering. He was always a very smart guy. He was very interested in reading, in philosophy, and one day he came across a book from Theodore Levitt, which had a line that stayed with Brunello forever. The West can only compete with China by producing the highest quality goods. This idea planted a seed in Brunello's mind. Brunello was fascinated with cashmere, a material known for its softness, warmth, and luxurious quality. But it wasn't just the fabric that drew him in. It was what cashmere symbolized, something timeless, something worth cherishing. But the biggest inspiration for Brunello was not this book. It was love. At that time, Brunello was dating, and his girlfriend was passionate about fashion, and one day, while they were walking, they stood in front of the Benetton store. You know, the Italian mass market Benetton brand. If you don't know the story, I had a short video on my channel about it, so you can check it out. But yes, Brunello and his girlfriend were standing in front of Benetton store. And Benetton in 70s was famous for their very bright cotton sweaters. So Brunello told his girlfriend that one day he will make exactly the same bright sweater for her, but not from cotton, as Benetton does, but from cashmere. His girl looked amazed at him and said, "Are you crazy?" Because cashmere at the time was something for old ladies. It was something which very wealthy old men wore, and typical colors for cashmere were black, brown and grey. Brunello smiled at his girlfriend. It was exactly the challenge that he was willing to accept. I will prove to the world that cashmere can be youthful, vibrant and modern. But there was one problem. Brunello had no money, so he had to be creative. First, he convinced a local yarn supplier to lend him 20 kilograms of cashmere on credit. Then he became charming with a local factory and convinced them to make 5 sweaters out of this 20 kilograms of cashmere, also on credit. Then Brunello went to his friend who had a dyeing workshop and asked him to dye these 5 sweaters into bright colors. The friend was shocked because nobody wanted these bright cashmere sweaters, he said. But Brunello told him that he already had his first customers. Spoiler alert, he had nobody. What Brunello did? He went to the wealthiest regions of Italy, of northern Italy, and he went door to door. So he was knocking on the door of houses of strangers, and he was introducing himself and was showing his 5 bright cashmere sweaters and asking if somebody was interested to buy them. Of course, most of the people didn't want to talk to him. But then it happened. A wealthy homeowner really liked Brunello's sweaters, so he bought all 5 of them and ordered 50 more. At that day, the Brunello's business was born. For the next 3 years, Brunello worked tirelessly. He was the designer, the label sticker, the packer, and even the delivery guy. But his hard work paid off. At the age of 25, he made his first huge sale abroad to Germany. So that's when he registered his business as Brunello Cucinelli. By then, he was already married to exactly the same woman who inspired him to make his first sweater. And after the marriage, they moved to a small village in Italy where his wife came from. It is called Solomeo. Most luxury brands set up their headquarters in big cities like Paris, Milan, or New York. But Brunello did it all differently. He started his company in his life in a very small village in Italy, in Solomeo, and that's where his company stays to this day. In 1985, he purchased a ruined 14th century castle in Solomeo. The owner agreed to sell it on installment payments because he respected Brunello's family. Brunello restored the castle and turned it into the company's headquarters, the design studios, and the production workshops. You can actually see the castle's tower in Brunello Cucinelli's logo. But Brunello didn't stop there. He used his profits to restore the whole village. He rebuilt roads and squares. He planted orchards and olive groves. He made Solomeo a local producer of olive oil, wine, and wheat. The next major project was building the School of Arts and Crafts, where young people learned traditional skills like tailoring, knitting, and leatherworking. And here is the best part about this school. There is no tuition, so it is tuition-free. Every student receives $800 a month stipend. But of course, it's very highly competitive. There are over 2,000 applicants for just 15 spots. Brunello believed that preserving craftsmanship was just as important as creating luxury. After the School of Arts came the theater, where concerts, plays, and festivals bring art to life for the community. And his latest project is a library designed to house over 500,000 books inspired by the legendary Library of Alexandria. Although Brunello never finished his engineering degree because he started his business, he is known for his intellect and his interest in philosophy. Brunello once said, "If I was stranded out on a desert island, I would only need 10 books because each one is a journey into the human soul." In fact, despite never graduating, he received an honorary doctorate in philosophy and ethics from the University of Perugia, one of Italy's oldest universities. They didn't honor him for his clothes, they honored him for his philosophy. So it's time to talk about what humanistic capitalism is, which I mentioned in the introduction. Brunello believes that the company should value the people as much as it values the profit. At Brunello Cucinelli, the workday is from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., no exceptions. After hours, no emails, no calls. Overtime is forbidden. Why? Because Brunello believes workers need time to nourish their souls through family, nature, and art. According to Bloomberg, employees at Brunello Cucinelli earn 20% more than the average industry salary. At 1 p.m. sharp, the entire company gathers for lunch together. The break lasts 1.5 hours, allowing time to relax. The meal costs only €3 with ingredients from local farms. It is cooked by 3 local women who aren't professional chefs but home cooks. The result? A warm, family-like atmosphere because a happy worker creates beauty. But what truly sets the offices of Brunello Cucinelli apart is their design. Every office wall is made of glass, allowing natural light everywhere. No shelves are allowed to be taller than a person's head, so that everyone has a clear view outside. Brunello's belief: beauty inspires creativity. Only people surrounded by beauty can create beautiful things. And yes, Brunello's business model is very ethical, but it's also profitable. That's why it is called Humanistic Capitalism. Until 1994, the company was making only women's sweaters. After that, in 1994, they introduced a men's line. By 2000, they expanded to full collections, outerwear, trousers and accessoires. And then came the global boutiques in New York, London, Paris and Beijing. In 2012, Brunello took the company public, so he made an IPO on Milan Stock Exchange. Shares started at €8 and they raised 158 million euros. Ironically, one of the largest investors was Benetton, the company that inspired Brunello for opening his own business. But then the pandemic hit. And of course, every company was in a difficult situation. But after pandemic, came the quiet luxury trend, and look what an impact it had on Brunello's finances. They reached their financial goal for 2030, which was 1.2 billion euros in revenue. They reached this goal already in 2023, all thanks to the quiet luxury trend. But Brunello keeps giving back. Every year, 20% of his profits go to charity. In 2018, he sold 6% of his company shares and donated 100% of his proceeds to charity. During the pandemic, he donated unsold inventory worth 30 million euros to people in need. Why does Silicon Valley love Brunello Cucinelli so much? As you know, in Silicon Valley, CEOs are known for their simple wardrobes, t-shirts, hoodies and sneakers. So why do they choose Brunello Cucinelli, which is a very luxury brand? Of course, they admire high quality. Of course, they're interested in comfort. But first of all, they admire the Brunello's philosophy. In 2014, Brunello was invited to speak at a private summit for Silicon Valley leaders, where he shared his principles of humanistic capitalism. The tech leaders saw him not just a designer, but as a visionary. And in 2019, Brunello invited 15 Silicon Valley leaders to Solomeo for a 3-day retreat. Among them were Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, Ned Siegel, CFO of Twitter, and Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. The agenda of this retreat was simple. They were walking through vineyards, discussing the philosophy, and no phones were allowed. There is also a photo from this summit which became viral because it went out with a caption that finally the 15 people on Earth who can actually afford Brunello Cucinelli sweaters are gathered together. But for Brunello, this summit was not about sales. He said that these entrepreneurs are the new Leonardo da Vinci's. My only wish was to plant a seed of humanistic capitalism in their hearts. Of course, the biggest Brunello Cucinelli's competitor is Loro Piana, so let's compare those both companies. Loro Piana focuses on functionality and fabrics, often inspired by sports and outdoor life. There is a video on Loro Piana on my channel, so you can check out their story in this one. Brunello Cucinelli focuses on style, elegance and expression. It's more fashion-driven luxury than Loro Piana. Price-wise, they are similar, but Brunello offers more variety and more artistic expression. The real difference is Brunello itself, because as I talked about in my Loro Piana's video, Loro Piana is now owned by the biggest luxury conglomerate, LVMH. Brunello Cucinelli is still family-owned, with his values intact. Brunello's greatest legacy is not just his brand, it's his philosophy that business can be both profitable and ethical. What do you think about Brunello Cucinelli and his vision of humanistic capitalism? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, please support me by hitting the like button, by sharing some of your thoughts in the comments, and also by subscribing to this channel to hear more brand stories. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.